Hello and Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm Kashif Kamran, AAA expert tutor with the AAA Mock Debrief overall feedback session. Now, this is the session one of the four sessions I will be doing on the AAA Mock, which was published by ACCA for the December 25 exams. And this is the first one where I will just take the overall feedback of the mock based upon the number of scripts I have evaluated of my students. Let's open up the overall feedback session. Now, first of all, I have evaluated 207 mocks for the December 25 exam settings, which were sent to me by my students on the designated email ID. And this facility was only available to my registered students who are enrolled with me for the December 25 courses. Now, the 207 mocks evaluated is a big number to tell you the actual feedback and to tell you the problems which the student faced in the question number one, two, and three. But something which was surprising, despite the 207 looks like a big number, this is only 22.7% of my total students who submitted the mock. So that was quite a low percentage of students submitting the mock. Yes, some student did message me that they are busy with jobs, they're struggling to find the balance between the mock and the job, and they will be unable to do it, or they were expecting to do it by 27th, 28th, but again, that was against the deadline, so that they were refused to send in the mock. But again, 22.7 is a low percentage because a lot of time the student don't take interest or do not take seriousness of the mock. And we know it attempting a mock is so important. When you get a feedback, when you know the red flags, when you know the problems, when you know your score, you are better uh, prepared for the upcoming exams. So, all of you who must have got the feedback, the marks, whether you pass, you fail, you marginally pass, you marginally fail, any particular red flags, I hope that all has helped you in terms of a better focus for your exams on the 1st of December 2025. So the low turnout is like something of a question mark that shows the students are not taking interest in mock submission. They're not taking it serious and they're not doing any time-based drill. We know time management is the biggest problem in AAA. And if you're not sitting down with mock, and if you're not doing a mock in 195 minutes, you are facing a serious challenge on the 1st of December 2025 for your December exams. Because if you are doing something within time for the first time, and that is the 1st of December, you are you need to be ready for a very big challenge. But students who have done 195 minutes challenge at home, not just for the mock, but for a couple of past papers, like 4 to 5 past papers, you have taken that 195-minute challenge. You are better prepared for your exams for December. Now let's see what were some underlying issues I evaluated on the basis of these 207 mocks which were reviewed by me. Okay, let's look into the feedback on a question-wise basis. I'm starting first with the question number one, and I'm looking into the feedback. And when I do the session two, and in the session two, I'll be looking into the question number one. Each of these issues I will be giving you a solution, a mitigation. So do watch the session two because the issues we are identifying today will be demonstrated and how to mitigate them in the session two when I look into the question number one. Let's see the issues I found in the mock evaluation from the question number one, which is for 50 marks. Some of the issues identified, number one, some issues identified in the briefing note format. 90% of the students were very sound with the briefing note format, starting with the heading briefing note to from date subjects, then putting the requirement A, B, C, D, so on and so forth. But some students did ended the briefing note with yours sincerely, yours faithfully, regard, thank you, manager, signature. We know that the briefing note doesn't end with such. You never end a briefing note with thank you, regards, yours sincerely, your faithfully, putting a signature, putting your designation. We never end briefing note that way. So where you end the answer, that ends the briefing note as well. So I was a bit concerned about 10% of the student ending the briefing note as if you end a letter. So we'll see that more realistically on the session two of the mock debrief, where I will be going inside the question number one. Number two, conclusion was given for business risk, which is not required. You are not asked in exam to prioritize the business risk. You're only asked in the exam to evaluate the significant business risk. You're not asked to evaluate and prioritize the significant business risk. So when you're not asked to prioritize the significant business risk, why are you giving a conclusion of business risk? So I found some 15% answers where conclusion was given for business risk, which is wrong. Please, in your exam on 1st of December, please don't give any conclusions for business risk. You're only bound to give conclusion for either audit risk or risk of material misstatement, because in that question, you are evaluating as well as prioritizing the audit risk, or evaluating and prioritizing the significant risk of material misstatement. So you're giving a conclusion basically for the prioritization, that which two of the above audit risk or which two of the above risk of material misstatement are to be prioritized and why. So that's the conclusion needed for audit risk and risk of material misstatement, but not for the business risk. But again, I will be more specific to that on in my session two. Number three, materiality determination. We know there are three technical marks for materiality determination, which are deducted from the marks allocated for risk of material misstatement. But some student, knowing these are three easy marks, you did not you didn't provided a good structured paragraph for 3 marks. Some student missed on the calculation. It was to be based upon profit before income taxes, and some student just didn't show the working of the 5% and 10%. Some student uh, didn't justify which threshold are they using for the audit. Like, are they using 5%? Are they using 10%? They were not very clear on that, or the judgment was very weak. Uh, I'll be showing you some examples of some very bad materiality paragraphs in my session two, which was drafted by the student. You have three technical marks, so you have to do it under three logical sentences, three logical uh, points. So if you have three logical points in your materiality paragraph, you're taking one, one, one. But a lot of time the student will blur on how to phrase the paragraph. And I'll show you some bad examples, and I'll try to justify that this is how you write a good one. So just be watchful of the materiality determination paragraph. The prioritization of ROM was not well justified. Which one are to be prioritized and why? A lot of times, the student just wrote a single sentence that the above risks are prioritized on the quantified basis, full stop. Hardly one sentence that the above risks are prioritized on a quantified basis. This is not good. You need to give a logical justification. Quantification is a good judgment. Quantification is a good way to prioritize. I'm not denying that. But one single sentence, that's not good. At least two sentences where you develop your basis of prioritization, where you tell that the above risks are prioritized on the basis of quantification, and the top two risks are this and this. I'll show you the way. I'll show you the way of writing it down with some very good examples of the bad answers on the session two. So I'll show you how student wrote less on the prioritization, how they lose professional marks on prioritization. And I'll show you some very good answers of students who did an excellent job with writing the paragraph on prioritization of risk. So if you're just writing one sentence, you're not doing a good job. You're not impressing the marker. Wrong placement of prioritization para for ROM. Some student put the paragraph for prioritization. That's a conclusion para where you prioritize the ROM. Uh, right at the end of the briefing note, right at the end after you solve the D requirement, A, B, C, D, and then you put a conclusion. You have to put a conclusion of prioritization that which two of the above ROM, or which three of the above ROM are prioritized right after the ROM requirement. So right after the B requirement, you had to give this conclusion. You have to give this prioritization. So when you finish off the ROM, you put a heading prioritization or you put a heading conclusion. And in that prioritization heading or in that conclusion heading, you justify which of the two above are to be prioritized and why. You're not giving this after the end of the D requirement. That was an issue with some 10 to 15% students, the one I evaluated. We'll see that for 8 marks of business risk. Hundreds of times I've told it that each business risk is worth 2 marks. And then you say time management is an issue in AAA paper. But for 8 marks, we just needed 4 business risk. Some student went up to writing 7 and 8. Now you're killing your time. Now you're killing your opportunities. Now you cannot say that I'm running out of time because you are doing something very bad. 7 to 8 risk when you just needed 4. Every business risk is worth 2 marks. So the moment I find 4, I'm satisfied. I'm done with it. So we'll see that. For 18 marks of ROM, you know that if the marks allocation for audit risk or the marks allocation for ROM, you deduct 3 marks for materiality. So from 18 marks, you will deduct 3 marks for materiality. So you're left with 15 marks. Now we know each ROM or each audit risk is worth 3 marks, ideally. The ones which have materiality or one which have the numbers, the one which have values, which have the accounting treatments, those particular risks are worth 3 marks. And there were plenty of them in the question number 1 for mock. So 15 technical marks after deducting 3 for materiality divided by 3, you should have written 5 ROM and save your time. Some student wrote 6, 7, 8. I want to clear one misconception, which I will be doing on the session 2 as well. Some students believe that if they need to write 4 business risk and they write 7, the marking team will check the 4 best. If they need to write 5 ROM and they wrote 8, the marking team will check the best 5. Please come out of that illusion. Please come out of that optimism. That is a very wrong assumption you are taking. The marking team will be checking the first 4 business risk. They will not be bothered about reading number 5, number 6, number 7. They will be checking the first 5 ROM. They will not be bothered about reading 6, 7, 8. You have wasted your time in an optimism, right? So you have done something wrong. And I don't know where this myth has come among the student community that if we need to write 7, we'll write 10. And out of those 10, the 7 good will be checked. Why? The marking team has to check so many papers on a global landscape and release a result within 6 weeks. They need to prioritize things logically. They're not wasting time like you are wasting. So please come out of that myth which has been developed among the student community, and I'll be emphasizing on this more in my session 2. Number 8, procedures, starting with the word obtain and check. I'll show you those bad answers in the session 2. I saw so many students writing answers. They're writing seven procedures on sale and lease back. And of those 7, 6 were starting with obtain, 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 obtain. What is obtain? Obtain means to get an information. But is obtain a procedure? Am I demonstrating something? Am I demonstrating that as an auditor, I'm doing something? Obtain means to get an information. What am I doing? Review? Yes, that's what I'm doing. Recalculate? That's what I'm doing. Discuss? That's what I'm doing. Inquire? That's what I'm doing. So you need to start it with action. How many times I have told that? But if you are starting with obtain, obtain alone is not a procedure. And some students have a bad habit. They say obtain and review. You're wasting your time. Everything is obtained. That's like an assumption. That's like a presumption, sorry. But why writing that in the exam? Why telling that we obtain first and then we review? You're wasting your time. Procedure needs to start with review, not with obtain and review. I'll show you that bad answer. And some started with check. Even the double A examiner criticized to write check. And you're doing this in AAA paper. Starting a procedure with check the cash book, check the bank statement, check the board minutes. What is check the board minutes? How you checked it? The question is how you checked it. Check the bank statement, how you checked it. Check is such a vague word. Check is such a blur word. You cannot write procedures with check. And even the double A examiner doesn't like it. And you are a manager in the AAA paper and you're still writing check. So these are quite astonishing things I got from the mock question number one. The last part, the D part. The D part was such a typical part. We have seen that part so many times in the past paper. The matters in considering in accepting the engagement to provide advice on the sustainability information. That was for 7 marks. And the answer of that was in the exhibit 4. And in the exhibit 4, we had some very specific situation. The management wants an advice on sustainability information. And you want to consider whether you can give that advice or not for 7 marks. And there were very specific issues given in. Student wrote very generic matters like fees, competence, deadlines, ethical issues, all the rote learn stuff. And none of the point was contextualized to the exhibit 4. None of the point was contextualized to the company. But if you have a rote learn answer, matters to consider, and you've just rote learned that, and you go to the exam hall, and you say, okay, matters to consider, fees, competence, deadline, ethics. But you're not relating the fees, you're not relating the competence, you're not relating the deadlines, you're not relating the ethics to the given information in Exhibit 4. Are you impressing your partner? You are a manager, you are responding to a partner. You're not impressing the partner. How would you impress the marker? How you're impressing the marker? Right. And William, I'll just come back to your question, right? I've noted your question. Just hold it down for a Q&A session. Let me first complete the feedback and I'll take the Q&A session. And I've noted your question, William, to be responded shortly. Okay, is everyone clear with the feedback on question number one? I'll be illustrating the bad answers in the session 2, and I'll be illustrating how to put the materiality, how to put a prioritization, how to frame up the briefing note, how to go down with things in the briefing note from A, B, C, D. So I'll just take a quick 30-minute scan of the question number 1 of the mock exam in the session 2. Is this overall feedback sound with everyone? Has anyone tried to realize the mistakes you have done or you are doing? Have you got some lessons for Monday, for the 1st of December? Okay, now just let's move on to the question number 2 and see the results. Now, for the question number 2 of the mock, which is the section B now starting in, and in the section B, the first question was, let's see what was the problem. Some common issues identified in the question 2, which needs to be carefully considered, are as follow. Number 1, the only issue I found in question number 2 was with the B part. A part was so excellent. Communication of matters to those charged with governance. Everyone did so well on that. The inventory valuation, the engagement partner, the warranty provision, the manual journals, the availability of information. Everyone was so good in the exhibit 1. In the part A requirement, everyone was so good of those 13 marks. But the problem came with the 7 marks, where you need to comment on the matters and the implication for the audit report. And really sorry to say that, but whenever implication for an opinion or implication for a report comes in, the student try to bring all the knowledge into 7 marks. They will put CAM, they will put emphasis, they will put adverse opinion, they will put qualified opinion, and they just mix it up and present it to the examiner in a hope that one of them will be correct and examiner will give us marks. They do take a scattergun approach, and I've seen evidences of that in the 207 mocks. That you even wrote adverse, you even wrote qualified, you even wrote emphasis of a matter paragraph, despite the fact the question was saying no disclosure given. So when disclosure is not given, how can it be an emphasis of a matter paragraph? Tell me. I found the strangest of things in the B part, strangest of things in the B part that make me realize that for the reporting part, you are just dumping everything. So when a disclosure is not given, is it a misstatement? How can it be an emphasis? So the B part, commenting on the matters and the implication for the report for 7 marks, was not done well by the majority. Some thinking of emphasis. We'll see, was that correct? It is absolutely wrong. Or some stretching themselves to an adverse opinion. $1 million. Was that the misstatement? Tell me, everyone. $1 million. Was that the misstatement amount? Agree or disagree? $1 million. Was that the misstatement amount in the question number two, if you remember? And that $1 million, if you divide that by profit, I think the profit was 4 million. That was like 25% of the profit. And I think the 1 million, if you divide that by the total assets, was roughly 3%, 2.3, 2.5 or 3%. Is that pervasive? Is that adverse? $1 million of the $4 million. $1 million of the total assets. And I think on the total asset, it was just like hardly 2.4%, if I remember rightly. Was that pervasive? I don't know why students love pervasive. I don't know why students love adverse opinions. I believe when you will all become realistic auditors, every audit report which you will issue will have an adverse opinion. I don't know why you love adverse opinions so much. Be realistic. You had a problem of $1 million. The materiality was to be calculated, and then you have to exercise a sound judgment. You're losing your professional skill marks on judgment if you say adverse opinion, because it was not at all adverse. It was not at all adverse. The management was not recognizing a provision, right? Because they think that it was covered by the insurance claim. But the problem was you cannot net off. You have to show a provision. And for the insurance claim, which was virtually certain, you have to give a disclosure. You have to put that into the current assets because it was virtually certain. So you have to give both things separately, provision separately, and for the insurance claim, the current asset separately, and the other income separately. So you have to show all these things separately. You cannot just net off them. The management was wrong in saying net off. So that was the problem. They were not recording the provision. They were not showing the current assets relating to the insurance claim. But that all was $1 million. I don't know where it became it worse. So I'll have a very strong word of that on my session three, because in my session three, I'll be doing the question number two, particularly the B part, because A part was absolutely good. The problem is in the B part. So I'll do the B part. I'll spend 10 minutes on that, and I'll just show you how to structure the answer for 7 marks. But that was a nightmare for me looking into the B part. Students, just try bringing everything in the reporting answer in a hope that some of it will be right to score. Don't go logically as to what the question is asking. The question was asking you, look, just let me show you this question for a minute. Even though I have to do this in session number three, I hope you can see the mock in front of your screen now. This is for the Carrigan Company, the question number one. We need to go to the question number two, which is now in front of your screen. Look at the requirements. Evaluate the matters to be discussed with management in relation to the legal claim. How many times you've seen this requirement in the past paper? And justify an appropriate audit opinion and explain the impact of the report if the misstatement remains uncorrected. If the misstatement remain uncorrected. If the misstatement remain uncorrected, how you get an emphasis? Justify me. If that student is in the live session, justify me how you get an emphasis if a misstatement remains uncorrected. right? How you justify an emphasis if the misstatement remained uncorrected? That means the student who wrote emphasis, you fail to read the requirement. All of you, do you agree with me? Can we give an emphasis of a meta paragraph if the question says if the misstatement remain uncorrected? For an uncorrected misstatement, can we give an emphasis? Tell me, am I right or are you right? Am I correct? I'm asking a question to all of you. Am I correct for this? So if the misstatement remain uncorrected, either we can have a qualified opinion or we can have an adverse opinion. Now that was to be decided based upon the $1 million amount given. But if the misstatement remain uncorrected, how can you give a emphasis of a meta paragraph? I fail to understand that. That means you have not read the question correctly. That's the problem. We'll do this in the session number 3, right? The question number 2. Okay, the final question, which is for the question number 3. The question number 3 started with the knowledge of ISSA 5000 ED, the exposure draft. So the students who read that exposure draft did very well with the 5 marks answer on multiple frameworks and profession agnostic. But the student who had not read the article ISSA 5000 ED failed to provide an answer on multiple framework and failed to provide an answer on profession agnostic, losing 5 simple, easy marks. We know knowledge is tested. And this article is important. I even mentioned this in my tips for December that you need to know this article because any knowledge can come from this article. Even the article Audit of Less Complex Entities is very important for December exams. And anything from a knowledge perspective can come from Audit of Less Complex Entity. So you can easily lose bonus marks if you have not read the articles. So I think the maximum score I saw in this 5 marks was 3 out of 5. Because student did wrote good definitions of profession agnostic and multiple framework, but majority scored 0 out of 5 here on profession agnostic and multiple framework. I'll be sharing my answer with you in the session number 4 because session 4 will be about question number 3. Okay, the due diligence part for 13 marks. Majority of the student reached maximum 7 to 8. For 13 marks, you need 13 points, matters and additional information. So you need to accumulate matters and information maximum up to 13. Irrespective, you write 8 matters and 5 informations or 9 matters and 4 informations, but the maximum has to be 13. This question was so badly done by roughly 25% of the 207 mocks evaluated, even though this question was a copy paste of the December 13 question number 2 on due diligence by the name of the Baltimore company. And any student who is enrolled in my full course for AAA, and any student who has seen my block 4 in the full course, and in the block 4, in the due diligence topic, I have done this Baltimore company question, December 13 question number 2 full. And that was just a copy paste of the Baltimore question with the change of the names. Everything was the same. And despite that fact, and guiding my students how to write matters, how to write additional information, some student wrote copy of, which is evidence. Some student wrote review, discuss, inquire, which is a procedure. You need to know the thin lines, right, between a procedure, evidence, and a additional information. Some student did excellently well. They know how to write additional information. So I'll be guiding you about that. In my session number 4, I'll be doing the B part for 13 marks. I will be doing the B part of the question number 2 because that was the most worrying part. And in the question number 1, I'll be showing you the structure, materialities, how to write conclusions, but I'll just be focusing on how quickly can you score how quickly you could have written the answer for the D requirement, which was methods to consider, because to me, that was the most bad answer. Business risk, majority wrote well. ROM, majority wrote well, except for they wrote more. So we'll see that as well. But this is the feedback. I hope this is giving you some sense of eye opener that what basically you do in your real exam in 195 minutes. And then you fail and you ask why I failed. You failed for these reasons, right? Writing less points, writing more points, not completing something, writing illogical answers to the reporting question. See the amount of blunders student did in the question number one. Now this is all taking marks, and you're reaching, instead of reaching 50 plus, you land up at 44, 45, 46, 47 with these issues. And that's the reasons we failed the triple exam. Okay, is everyone clear? I'll be back with session two, session three, session four. Session two will focus on the question number one for 30 minutes. Question number uh, Question number two will come in session number three for 30 minutes. And the final question three comes in session four for 30 minutes. That's the stretch coming up today and tomorrow. These sessions are all piled up. I'll be communicating when they are taking place so that if anyone wants to come into the live class, they can. Okay, just let me answer some question. There was a question from William. William, if you can just copy paste your question again quickly. And there was a question from Shruti. Shruti, if you can copy paste your question again, and William, so I can just answer your questions before leaving the session. William and Shruti, if you can just copy paste your questions back in the chat box. Okay, just waiting. Okay, we got the question from Shruti. So my doubt is that example in a question like matters to discuss with those charged with governance, you told us to write in points. I never told you to write in points. What I wrote in the class was a brainstorming answer, was a skeleton answer. I always say that the AAA answers cannot be written in bullets. You need to write it in paragraph, like 2 to 3 sentences per paragraph. So you can change paragraphs after every 2 to 3 lines, but you're not giving it a look of a bullets. Uh, Procedures, actions, additional informations, evidences, these are all things you can write in bullets. But the rest you have to write all in paragraphs, Shruti. Yes, even for the matters to consider when accepting clients, the depth of the paragraph, Shruti, will vary, right? The depth of the paragraph will vary. For example, a matter in accepting a client could be maximum 2 sentences, 3 sentences. But when you're writing something like a communication to those charged with governance, it could be 3 to 4 sentences. The length of the para will vary, but everything has to be put in paragraphs with headings. Headings, para, headings, para, headings, para. That's the way you write the answers for AAA. Okay, William, I hope you are in the session or else I can just pick up your question. Okay, William was basically asking, sir, there is an issue. Is there an issue to start with obtain when the procedure has action and document and everything? Yes, uh, professionalism. Uh, you're wasting your time first by writing 6 times the word obtain. So in your 7 procedures, you wrote obtain, 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 obtain. You're wasting your time. You're killing 1 to 2 seconds every procedure. And secondly, when you have to say obtain and review, why not directly start with review? How many seconds you wasted by writing obtain and review? So you could have deleted obtain, you could have deleted and you could have started directly with review. Will save so much of your precious exam time in AAA paper. And that's also demonstrate you are a manager. Manager never starts with obtain and review. He directly starts with review. I hope you're clear on that, William. Fahim, you can practice past practice exams and specimen exams if you're done with all papers from September 22 up to June 25, including the mock. So you can go back to the specimen exams and practice exams in that case. Lipakshi, I've done a whole session on professional marks. It's on my YouTube channel, and if you are my registered student, it's on the portal under the orientation. Under the orientation, you will find how to get the professional skill marks. So I've already done a session telling you how to maximize the 20 marks. So please do watch that session under the orientation on the full course, and otherwise watch it on the YouTube. Okay, I hope you're all clear, and I hope you found some mistakes which the student generally do in the question number one, two, and three. And I hope you're all ready set to join the session two, three, and four coming your way. I wish you all the very best of luck and stay tuned for the three more sessions coming on the mock debrief. Okay, all the best to all of you.